Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media MegaCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information to cover with you. Let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Also, keep in mind that if you have any tech issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you. So throughout today's MegaCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all of your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. And if we do not get to your question during the webinar, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us today will be following up with you after we wrap. All right, next up on our tour, there are going to be lots of cool aha moments in the MegaCast today, and if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's MegaCast will automatically get added to your post. And our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the Handouts tab for some resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection of solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. And if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes we will be giving away throughout the MegaCast today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. You do need to be in attendance here live at the webinar in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all winners after we wrap the MegaCast today. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, hey, if you're not sure what those are, no problem. You can find the full T's and C's in that Handouts tab. Again, just click into the Handouts section, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember here today is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. In today's MegaCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all the questions asked after the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about winning, and we will get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the MegaCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. So let's connect on social. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content right away after we wrap, you want to jump right in, make sure that you subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and to grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link to do that right there in that Handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected after we wrap today. Now, both you and your coworker, your friend, could win a prize, and we actually hold those drawings every month. So be sure you refer somebody awesome before you head out today. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your Handouts tab and fill out the application. Then the Actual Tech crew will match you with some vendors that we think you should be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you can choose to join in, like surveys or test running new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you will learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker in your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, how to prevent and recover. The site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. So go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books are going to work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and they are completely free, super easy. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in the handouts tab as well. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get rolling. All right, folks, it is time to jump into the good stuff here, because today we are talking about IT decision series. So we're looking today at critical factors in on-premises and cloud data storage and management. And this is such a cool topic to get into a little bit, because as we all know by now, data is king, right? But you can have all the data in the world, and if you don't know how to successfully store and manage it, what's the point? Are you actually getting the most out of it? So if you're thinking scalability, growth, you're looking to empower that next big level up opportunity for your organization, it starts with knowing how to manage that data. And today we will be hearing from some top experts from Rubrik and from Pure Storage who are leading the industry and setting new standards for data management and storage. This is going to be such a great chat, and I cannot wait to jump in. So let's get things started. Now, as I said at the top here, my name is Jess Steinbach. I am a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. My fellow moderators, Scott Becker and Keith Ward, will be here with me on live chat today, and Keith Ward is going to be joining us in just a moment for our keynote discussion. But before we get to that, prizes. All right, so today on the MegaCast, you could win one of 3 Apple Watch Series 8 plus a $300 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away, get this, every 30 minutes to our lucky winners who are here live and present with us at the MegaCast. Now, I mentioned that in the housekeeping chat, and just to reiterate, if you have any questions about the terms and conditions, you can find the full T's and C's linked in that handouts tab. So head on back over there and check that out. And while you're there, make sure you get those other resources and takeaways from our webinar here today, because I promise you, you are going to want them after we wrap up. All right, well, that was it for housekeeping. I told you I'd keep it short and sweet. We're going to get into the good stuff already. So it is time for me to introduce our keynote speaker, and today we will be hearing from Dan Sullivan, data architect, data engineer, cloud architect, author, and speaker, also founder of the Sullivan Learning Group. I mean, this guy does it all. And today we've asked Dan to join us for a quick chat with the one and only Keith Ward, my wonderful friend and fellow moderator here at Actual Tech Media. Now, Keith, I know that you have a great discussion planned for us today. I can't wait to hear from you and from Dan. So Keith, take it away.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us. So today I would like to introduce Dan Sullivan as our keynote speaker. Now, Dan is a data architect, data engineer, cloud architect who's been in the business a really long time, maybe almost as long as me. Now, Dan is also an author and a speaker, and he's written a number of our Gorilla Guides, and I've edited a number of those, and it's always a pleasure to work with him. So, Dan, we are so happy to have you here today to talk about key decision points for on-premises and cloud data storage. Are you ready to answer some questions?
I am, and thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Oh, I am too. So let's dive right in. Dan, can you first quickly, let's set the table, if you will. Let's have you define the 3 types of storage most organizations are likely to employ today.
Well, the 3 we typically use are block storage, which we use if you think about how we want to install an operating system, we pick a file system, we want to be using block storage. Similarly with relational databases, we also tend to use a lot of file systems, of course. So we want to be able to manage structures around file-oriented structures. And then object storage has really taken off in the last decade or so as a key sort of pillar in the broader sort of enterprise storage environment. So those are sort of the 3 we typically work with.
Right, and there are others, but those are those are the biggies. I think it's fair to say. So now that you've set the table there, there's a lot of decisions that companies have to make as their data grows. as their types of data grows, as their data locations grow. So basically, I think, Dan, what we're talking about here is infrastructure. So as a cloud architect, as someone who's in this industry, should the infrastructure drive storage decisions or vice versa? Is it really a chicken and egg question?
It's a hard question, and it is a little bit of a chicken and eggs question because really what drives it is the kind of workloads that we're dealing with, and the workloads will determine, whether we want to have a large, amount of object storage available to us, or if we need block storage. And the tricky thing is it's going to vary over time. So really, ideally, what we'd like is a software-defined storage platform that we can engineer, the particular things that we need right now, the certain combination of block storage, file storage, object storage now, and that our needs may change. We want to be able to reconfigure it as we go forward. Now, the underlying physical hardware, what kind of storage infrastructure we're using, it's not necessarily going to change, but how we use it, how we deploy our software-defined storage is going to change. So definitely we want to kind of think about workloads, but we also have to think farther ahead with regards to things like compliance and maybe emerging regulations that as we become more data intensive and adopt more ML AI practices, there's going to be more regulation around that. So we need to think in terms of flexibility when we're thinking about enterprise storage, because it is an investment, and it needs to be an investment that we have for multiple years into the future. So that's where the software defined storage piece comes in.
Right, because that is the most flexible kind of system, isn't it?
Yes, and we are going to need all three. Any enterprise is going to need all three, but you're going to need it in varying degrees, and then there are going to be different, use cases. For example, your object storage might be ideal for backing up and archiving, but one of the things we might want to adapt that to a more specialized, say, immutable storage that's air gapped, so that we are less susceptible to the impact of, say, a ransomware attack. We want to be able to protect our data. In some cases, now as a developer, as an engineer, I'm constantly making backups of databases, things like that. If those become corrupted, it's not a big deal. But your enterprise backups, they need to be immutable. And, if you're counting on those to protect you from ransomware.
Sure. And that leads into the next question I had for you. We've talked about the three different types of storage. Is one type of storage better than any other type of storage when it comes to security, to being able to secure that data and those workloads?
Well, security really is a function of the sort of the business requirements and the application. So the infrastructure, all of these file systems, block storage, object storage, they fit in a much larger infrastructure ecosystem, and security is a function of all of the layers of that. So I wouldn't say that any one is inherently better than the others, because it all depends what you're trying to do. So for example, immutable object storage is great if you want to have persistent volume, persistent storage for, say, backups that you can count on, and they're immutable. Even if somebody hacked your account, they're not going to be able to change it. So that is definitely helpful from a security perspective. You may also want to use
something like, sorry, let me interrupt you real quick. So
Sure.
What you're really describing then is ransomware. I mean, this is what everybody's afraid of. And that immutable storage is critical for that, because they're going to go after your backups, aren't they? I mean, that's what we're seeing more and more with ransomware criminals.
Right, exactly. And so you want, immutable is ideal. And, also ideal is air gapped. You want that in a separate account. So if your one account is compromised, that not necessarily the other one, it's not necessary that the other one is compromised as well. So, but we need tools to help us. This is, again, where software-defined storage comes in. We want tools that help us, say, host a separate account that's air-gapped that we can have our immutable storage in. So, automation is critical. So having tools that allow us to implement like security best practices, like around, say, zero trust security. These are excellent practices, well-defined. They're hard to implement without sufficient automation and software support.
Right. Okay, so let's move on. And final question for you today. Let's talk about storage location and the advantages or disadvantages. So all on premises, that's pretty unusual these days, I would say. There's all cloud, which is also pretty unusual I think, to have everything up in the cloud and nothing on premises. Now, the third type is hybrid storage, which you've got parts on premises, you've got parts in the cloud, and they sort of have to work together.
Hmm.
Hybrid storage, according to most folks, is kind of becoming the default. Would you agree with that? And should it be the default, and why or why not?
I think it probably is becoming the default. I think we are have a good understanding of how to use cloud now, better than we did, say, even 5, 10 years ago. And hybrid storage allows us to take advantage of if we have hardware infrastructure on-prem, we have greater control over like the physical hardware, physical security. That may be important in some situations. There are also cases where just the economics of storage in the cloud can become quite expensive quite quickly. Like if you have quite a few logs, or you need to retain a lot of time series data for extended periods of time, the economic case may be made for you to have on-prem storage. But you also, again, the requirements change. So we want to be able to leverage our on-prem infrastructure when it's a good fit, but we also want to be able to take advantage of, say, the scalability or the, sort of the peak spike capacity that we might want if we have short-term storage needs by leveraging cloud. So I do think at least hybrid capabilities are definitely the default. There are going to definitely be scenarios where like on-prem makes much more sense from a cost perspective, maybe from a security or compliance perspective. There are multiple factors, and sometimes it's just we might have some legacy hardware. We might have an IBM AS400 that's really crucial to us, and it's going to be 3 years before we can migrate to something else. And for whatever reason, we don't want to be spending a lot of egress. We don't want to spend a lot of money on egress charges pulling data out of the cloud to run a workload in our on-prem infrastructure, compute infrastructure. So you really have to look at the whole kind of workload enterprise environment to figure out what's the right combination of on-prem and on-cloud. But definitely, I'm hard-pressed to think of a scenario in an enterprise where we wouldn't want both.
Okay. Yeah, agreed. And, these are decisions I think that should be made right up front. I mean, you don't want to make these things tacked on after you've already decided, do you?
Oh, right. Absolutely. So many decisions are driven by just the nature of the workload, because in IT, there's no two projects, no two enterprise applications are the same. Even with standard enterprise software, there's so much configuration because each of us have different requirements. And so having like software defined storage that allow us to specify policies, which we can reconfigure as needed, that's really the kind of flexibility that we need going forward, because the pace of change in tech is so fast right now, and we're seeing
It's
it in the AI world, and that's very data driven. So it's only a matter of time before the ripple effects hit us, like from a storage perspective, and we're going to need that flexibility.
it's head spinning, isn't it? How fast things are changing. Dan Sullivan, it's been a pleasure to talk to you about data and data storage and all that encompasses. It's a big topic, and we appreciate your insights on it.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed talking about this, and it was great catching up with you again, Keith.
Well, I agree that was a lot of fun to listen to, and also just that rapid pace of change. It's such a exciting part of what we do, and it's also a little overwhelming, isn't it? Sometimes I don't know if you guys ever feel this way. Every once in a while, I just want, could everyone just hold still for a second? Will we just catch up, or get ahead, or just chill for 1 second? But more days than not, it's thrilling and exciting, right? So that's a great thing. And on that note, what we're wondering about is if you could let us know what your timeline is. So keeping in mind that everything changes rapidly, and there's always room for improvement, for regeneration, for leveling up, or for replacing entirely. And so if you have that on your radar with some of your data storage, data management in your organization, what is the timeline that you're thinking? How far ahead are you planning? There's no wrong answers here. We're just sort of curious where you're at, and it helps us kind of make sure that we're getting you the info that you need based on that timeline that you've got in mind. All right, so I'll give you a second to fill that out. And then I am going to go ahead and move things along because it is time to get started on our MegaCast. And I am so excited to introduce you all to our first two expert presenters. And as I said, and as you can see on the screen, it is not just that we have two incredible presenters here with us. These are also should be some familiar names. We've had them on the MegaCast before, and every time it is such an interesting experience, such a great conversation. And I'm so excited that we get to kick off our MegaCast with the Rubrik folks today. So we will be hearing from Joe Kelly, Cloud Solutions Architect, who's going to do a little bit of a demo, and Kim Lambert, Principal Product Evangelist. Now, Kim, I think you're going to kick us off today. I want to start by, again, thanking both you and Joe for being here to jumpstart this awesome MegaCast and get this conversation rolling. I can't wait to hear what's up at Rubrik. So without any further ado, I will hand things over. Kim, take it away.
All right, thanks so much. Yes, my name is Kim Lambert. I am a product evangelist for cloud security at Rubrik, and I'm excited to speak with you all today. So at Rubrik, one of my focuses is on the area of our business that ensures availability for your data in the cloud as a critical component of cyber resiliency. And I'm joined today by Joe Kelly, a cloud solutions architect. He is a 20+ year veteran in the information technology space. Joe's an expert in automation, in cloud architectures, cloud design, and what's great is he brings to the table experience designing virtualization and storage solutions for customers, especially those with hybrid cloud environments, and implementing cybersecurity best practices. So I'm excited today that Joe will be giving you an in-depth demo of Rubrik Cloud Native Protection and Microsoft 365 Security, so you won't want to miss that. Now, I want you to walk away from this session with Joe and with me really understanding how to enable fast data recovery in the event of a cyber attack or even accidental data deletion. I want you to know why third-party protection for your Microsoft Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, why that is a must. And then also what an automated unified approach to having your data center, your edge, Microsoft Azure, Microsoft 365 security, what having that unified visibility can do for your cyber resilience. So to do that, I'm going to explain how the company I work for, Rubrik, has built this zero trust data security platform from the ground up to provide business continuity, cloud acceleration, resilience across IaaS, PaaS, and even your most critical suite of applications, so Microsoft 365. Because that's what we do at Rubrik. We protect your critical data and your applications from not only operational failures, disaster events, but the most grievous problem that businesses face today, ransomware. And we do that with our secure data backup and recovery solution. So upfront, I think it's important that you know Rubrik has partnered up with Microsoft for a combined zero trust approach to data security. So off the bat, you know that we're serious about helping customers secure their data in the public cloud. And Microsoft actually took an equity stake in Rubrik, and we announced that at the end of 2021. And we work very closely with them as a strategic partner. This partnership, it really works well because we have a joint vision as customer-focused organizations that we want to protect customers from cybersecurity threats to their data. Now, this partnership, it's great because it allows us at Rubrik to be in an incredibly favorable position in terms of innovation, technical support, the interlock there for our customers. John Thompson, former chairman of Microsoft, also sits on our board. So we're in lockstep starting at the top with access to senior executives at Microsoft. And Microsoft and Rubrik, they go hand in hand to be better together in the sense that we already manage hundreds of petabytes of data on Azure. We have over 2,500 joint customers, and we have that technology in place to not only secure your hybrid, your multi-cloud environment and give you visibility across the board, but also especially better secure your data in Azure and in Microsoft 365. So even though the shared responsibility model that everyone's been talking about for years and we all know exists, it still applies, Microsoft is now invested in taking a stance on recovery, and they're working with Rubrik as a trusted third-party vendor for backup, which Microsoft even recommends in their documentation as the absolute first step to ransomware recovery. Because whether it's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or SaaS, that shared responsibility model for data protection, it still says the onus lies on you, the customer. And the complexity behind this comes into play, especially when you're operating in hybrid, you're operating multi-cloud, or at a really enormous scale too. And we all know as your presence in the cloud grows, it can become a more cloud, more problems type scenario. You've got the breadth of apps and services that you're running and you're using in the cloud, and it hits different people in your organization in different ways. So multi-cloud injects complexity and means somebody is left holding the bag for operationalizing backups across VMs, managed disks, or your databases in the cloud. You think about data infrastructure ops. They want to be able to successfully back up and quickly restore at the lowest cost and to consolidate and simplify infrastructure. You've got the cloud architects too, meanwhile, who aren't and don't want to be thinking about data governance as they try to focus on building fast in the cloud. Now you've got modern workplace owners who just want their apps up and running. They want their data available and they don't want to have any business interruption. But you've also got security ops who need to be able to ensure recoverability during an attack. So that's super important nowadays. And of course, you've got your CIO who wants to be able to prove attack readiness, which can be made really difficult with different reporting structures across the board. So you've got a lot going on here. And of course, everything's more complicated if you're still having multiple accounts to manage, right? And then within those regions, you're needing to protect the data. You have to set up all these different components around retention and frequency. Plus, when deploying resources within multiple regions for each account, you're also managing backup schemes across all these different regions. And oh, by the way, you very well may still have an on-premise environment too that needs the same sort of governance and security. So this all becomes a lot to manage. It's manual, it's resource intensive, it's just not scalable. And that's just data protection management. What about data security? What about being able to recover your data when you need it from uncompromised backups? We hear from a lot of customers we talk to that it can be really difficult to maintain visibility into dynamic data security and protection requirements across multiple environments, right? So recovery processes, they're fragmented. In a ransomware attack, we find that oftentimes if one cloud is hit, another cloud is hit. And problems may simultaneously be happening in your data center as well, right? So it's challenging then to get a baseline backup when you have AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, M365, other cloud enterprise apps. Fast recovery of all your data wherever it lives, that can be hard to ensure. And we talk to customers who use native tooling, and native tooling may work for your AWS environment. But are you maybe also utilizing Microsoft 365? Do you or other team members have plans to build in Azure? All of this is something that you need to take into consideration as your organization scales and your data protection needs grow. Because we just saw that multiple platforms to manage for hybrid and for multi-cloud, that can make management a challenge. It can make it tough to ensure that you have the right experienced technical resources for each cloud, that they are in place to effectively manage all those backup jobs to determine and improve recovery readiness. So, the customers we talk to, they struggle to maintain that holistic view. They have difficulty even generating the data recovery readiness proof that they need, whether it's reports to give to the CIO, or the board of directors. Now, luckily at Rubrik, we help customers solve for recovery at cloud scale, and we help them take charge of making sure that their data is protective. So we have one platform that can tie in regardless of where you are in your cloud journey. So whether you're in the early stages or you're born in the cloud and you're building all your apps in there and you want to know how you can apply security as well as governance. So our cloud approach made to address the challenges of customers we talk to that they face in the cloud has three tenets. So first, we drive automated business resiliency and security at the point of data. So secure backups by creating a data bunker in the cloud, meaning your backup is logically air-gapped. It's removed from identity boundaries that we know can be breached. Now, second, you can get started quickly. It's easy to scale as your business grows without breaking the bank. You can ensure that your cloud resources, they're protected as those architects build fast across a fragmented ecosystem. With this SaaS-based software, we're eliminating a lot of toil by consolidating the data management layer. We're drastically reducing the amount of operational impact it has on your team, especially if you have resources that have to spend valuable cycles doing Azure, AWS protection. And we've even got tiering features in place to optimize storage costs. And then third, we enable you to manage everything through a single UI. So all of this data across all your clouds and on-prem. And rather than managing these silos of management points and deploying all these different resources in the cloud, we consolidate it all, we bring it together to give you one point of view for everything. And that's able to help you define a baseline backup across all your resources, cloud and data center. And when you're deploying cloud protection, and even if you're coupling that with on-prem appliances or software delivered globally, you can then have a central management plane for visibility, and it can help you drive compliance and fast-track reporting across IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Now, these services we offer encompass three main functions. So first, Rubrik has the ability to archive to secure storage with the option of a Rubrik managed service built on Microsoft Azure, and we call that Rubrik Cloud Vault. And that provides an isolated offsite data archival. And you can also even utilize storage tiering for AWS and Azure for lower cost long-term cloud storage. And it's this capability we actually utilize in order to provide immutable backups for your Azure VMs and for your managed disks. Second, we also have the ability to launch existing applications in the cloud. And this can help you accelerate the move away from on-prem infrastructure with instantiation of your VMs and your applications. And then finally on the right, we help customers protect their cloud native applications across clouds. And we've got protection for EC2, RDS, Azure SQL, that's a big one nowadays as well. And this protection even includes ensuring recoverability for Microsoft 365 SaaS applications. So for so many businesses, we bring this up and we focus on it because we know that Microsoft 365 has become not only a tier 1 application and critical to your business operations, but also now a huge target for attackers. So it's something that you need to be aware of. Because while Microsoft offers data governance and availability tools, Rubrik is there for recovery from ransomware or accidental data deletion, or long-term retention for everyday instances where maybe you need to recover 60, 90-day-old data that's been lost and you can't recover it maybe within Microsoft 365. So while Microsoft 365, the native tooling does have the functionality to help you control access, to keep attackers out. They've got compliance tools, they've got retention policies to help you schedule deletions so you don't keep data longer than you need to. In reality, retention hold can be misused in an account takeover to delete data, or data can be deleted by accident when the compliance policies maybe aren't well understood. And Microsoft also has classification and search tools like litigation hold to help you comply with compliance and e-discovery. But legal hold, it's not a substitute for backup. It can actually be really costly and time consuming. And that's why we make sure that there's an isolated copy of your data in Azure at Rubrik. It's physically separated from your Microsoft 365 data. So you can recover in bulk, you can do granular 3-step recovery to any destination, you can easily locate data with our real-time global search, and you can even auto-scale resources using Azure Kubernetes service to operate at scale. And this is all managed through our single SaaS application for your on-prem data, for hybrid and multi-cloud services. So that's kind of best of all, right? Now, in terms of your whole security strategy, where you may be thinking of everything for your organization, for enterprise, it's around adding multiple layers of protection, for converging that in a threat scenario. You're thinking about having perimeter security, you have your network security, your endpoint security, and your application security. But it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when these layers are going to be breached, no matter how much you've invested in them. For IaaS and PaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, think about the security of PaaS Azure SQL database, for example. So maybe you've moved traditional SQL Server database workloads over, but migrating to the cloud doesn't mean that there's enough data security in place. So for instance, Microsoft Backup Service has some limited backup functionality for Azure SQL, and it requires you to go inside each server to create policies inside of each. So if a new database actually comes up, you have to manually go in, you have to set up a policy for it. And in the meantime, if someone creates a new database there, that means there's a new hole in your data security, and that's creating risk. So it's just a lot to manage there. And when you think about the SaaS space too, security layers that are part of the traditional defense in depth strategy are managed by your SaaS-based platform vendors. So it's part of why you make the switch to SaaS, where the provider is taking ownership of those security layers. But this can make your life, this can obviously make your life easier from a security perspective and put security out of your purview. But keep in mind that those layers for enterprise security are different for SaaS. So for the SaaS-based world, those layers become identity and authentication layers. And the main entry point into the SaaS-based world, really for attackers, is your user credentials, your user logins. And that's where threat groups, they use those to gain access. Now, you also have the Microsoft native tools as well. So you're thinking about the native Microsoft 365 tool set there. And if those layers are breached as well, maybe admin credentials are compromised, that's where Rubrik really fits in as a critical part of this holistic defense in depth strategy. So with Rubrik, you have this logical, secure air gap between your core data and your backup data that is protected by Rubrik. So if attackers get through everything else, this is where it comes in. This is your last line of defense. So even when all those security defenses fail, you're still protected. And this is what we mean by security at the point of data. So by securing backup data against attack, Rubrik is protecting your applications. We're keeping your business running for everyone. All right, so to wrap up, we talked about securing your backups with a secure logical air gap. We talked about achieving a baseline backup across hybrid and multi-cloud, and then unifying your visibility in the process. And we believe we have one of the most elegant data security solutions out there from a cloud perspective. And Rubrik really has your back if you need to secure your environment holistically against data loss. We would love to help you achieve your security goals, and we have a lot of resources you can reference right from our website to check out, including technical white papers focused on each of the major public cloud providers. Okay, now this is the Q&A. First question. Here we go. First question. For Azure, are the snapshots immutable? Yeah, good question. So something we actually went general availability with last month is immutability for Azure VMs and managed disks. Okay, let me do that again. Question again. For Azure, are the snapshots immutable? Something we actually went GA with in April of 2022 is immutability for Azure VMs and managed disks. So to do that, we utilize storage tiering, and that takes data from your production subscription where there are VMs, and you can configure it to move the data to a storage subscription. And the air gapping benefits that I talked about for Rubrik are expanded here with this new functionality. So it's making sure your data is even more resilient. So for example, if you need a retention time period of 30 days, we put a time-based lock on that data for 14 days, then we put it on for another 14 days. And this is done automatically as a continuously extended worm lock. So as long as you take advantage of storage tiering, your data, yes, is then immutable by default for Azure VMs. Okay, another question. What are the big gotchas for security if you're in the middle of moving to the cloud? Great question. And I like that, gotchas, because I ask that myself a lot. We always want to know what the gotchas are. So you may have pure IaaS, you may have SaaS, PaaS environments, and maybe even legacy data sets too. And essentially, that means that there's data fragmentation. And our advice really that we tell our customers at Rubrik is look for tooling, not just in the data protection space, but in general that is feature rich, that's pluggable into all of the elements of your environment. If you're in the midst of this cloud transformation, right, and you're thinking about security. So especially your tier zeros and your tier ones, look for technology that is API driven. Look for technology that's extensible, that's mature, and then that it's scalable to whatever boundary you think your organization may grow to over the lifetime of the investment. Based on what Rubrik's been doing, we could postulate that Rubrik as a company has made significant investments to make sure that we've got data management tooling that's capable, that's feature rich and platform native, regardless of where you're interacting. So that's a really good thing to think about when you are thinking about data management and data security platforms. All right, another question. How does Rubrik differentiate from AWS native tools for data security? Yeah, so we focused a lot on Azure for this session, but we are definitely a multi-cloud protection company. And your question is about AWS, and our differentiation versus AWS native tools is really less over the individual features, I'd say, and we're very glad to get into that with you and talk offline about your individual needs. It's definitely more about unification across on-prem, cloud, and multi-cloud, and giving you that visibility across what can be, like we said, this fragmented ecosystem. So with Rubrik, you're getting that ability to manage all your data regardless of where it lives now or in the future. So think about where your teams are building now, what cloud or clouds you're using, and you can quickly understand how difficult and complex it's going to be to manage all those different environments for one, but more importantly, how difficult it's going to be to prove that this critical data is protected from ransomware, that you do have a strategy in place to be able to recover all of it and recover all of it quickly, that it's not going to take weeks to recover from a backup, where in that time you're going to lose new data that's being created as well. Okay, let's see, and last question. Aren't the retention policies and Microsoft 365 the same thing? Okay. I think you're referring to the difference then between the native retention policies in Microsoft 365 and Rubrik-based protection, which is actually third-party backup. So the best way to think about it and to also explain to your colleagues in your organization, because there's a lot of confusion around this, is say there's a malicious threat actor who's able to compromise your admin credentials. Maybe they got in through phishing. They ultimately get access to your data. What they can do is they can change those retention schedules. And these threat actors, once they do that, they can delete versions of your data. So that's why it's critical to have an actual secure data backup solution that's protecting that data lifeline for you. Otherwise you'd have nothing to back that up. So if retention policies are manipulated, they're deleted, you have nothing to restore from. So, Microsoft 365 retention policies, they can also be just difficult to manage. They've got varying deletion schedules, so it becomes quite complex with the Microsoft native tooling. And you also need to make sure that new users are protected as soon as they come on board. Plus, when you're thinking about native tools like litigation hold, things like that just aren't meant for recovery at a large scale. They're meant for data governance and compliance. So if you have thousands of users, and many of our customers do, if your data is lost, you need an actual recovery solution to get back up and running fast.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you to the Rubrik team. Such a great kickoff to our MegaCast here today. And we have a question for all of you now. It's your turn to answer some questions. What we are wondering is what additional information you would like to get about the Rubrik solution. So we just got a little bit, kind of the tip of the awesome iceberg that is the Rubrik solution, and there is lots more to learn. So click on that poll right now and let the Rubrik team know how they can follow up with you, what information you would like to get in order to kind of dig in a little bit more and figure out how this is going to fit with your organization's needs. While you're doing that, I'm also going to remind you to head on over to the Handouts tab. There is an awesome ebook that you can check out from Rubrik. And really, again, reminder to keep kind of clicking on and checking out that Handouts tab throughout the day today. But there's a white paper called Framework for a Comprehensive Ransomware Recovery Plan. How your organization can prepare for and quickly recover from a ransomware attack. Obviously, this is top of mind for a lot of us right now. That is a great follow-up to this webinar today. So please do be sure that you've downloaded that white paper and save that to read after we wrap today. Now, I'm going to remind you just in case, because I know sometimes with handouts, there's little gremlins clinging into the system. If for some reason that handout is not working for you, give it a quick refresh and try that download again. And that should solve any little gremlins that we've got today on this lovely Tuesday. It's Tuesday, right? Tuesday morning. I said a day of the week the other day, and somebody messaged me and said I was off by like 3 days. My brain, I tell you. All right, well, moving things right along, I'm going to give you a little more time to click on the poll. Yeah, oh, perfect. Okay, I am seeing from a few of you there that there were a few little errors on the handout. Try giving a little bit of a refresh and see if a little bit of a refresh, as if there's like half a refresh you can do. Give it a full refresh, why not, and try that handout again. Let me know if that still isn't working for you. Brian says it's working. Brian gave us a test run. Handout's working, so everybody give it a refresh, and then it should be all set for you. All right, good. Jeffrey says refresh got rid of the tech gremlins. I don't know who keeps feeding those gremlins after midnight. Whoever you are, you stop that. But the handout is working for you now. And as a reward for that, I'm going to go ahead and give away some prizes. So let's start out with both an Apple Watch Series 8 and a $300 Amazon gift card. Now, I do want to remind you all that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast in order to win. And we're going to start out with a $300 Amazon gift card. That is going to Venko Gospodinov of California. You have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And then we're going to, another cool name, we're going to give an Apple Watch Series 8 to Joseph Illuminati of Pennsylvania. Joseph Illuminati of Pennsylvania. Ooh, cool last name, Joseph. Congratulations to you both. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap up the webinar. Now, I do want to remind you that there are more chances to win after our next session, so stay tuned for that. Plus, don't forget about that best question gift card from each session. So we are looking at all the questions asked after we wrap. Now, I know that we didn't get to all the questions for Rubrik today, but we are going to make sure that we look at those to choose that best question winner. And also, we send all the questions that we don't get to. We send all the questions that are asked, even if we do get to them, to Rubrik, to Pure Storage after we wrap up today. So you will get some answers back after we wrap, and make sure that you get that information. So keep those questions coming in. All right, but for now, we are going to keep things rolling right along because, folks, boy, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Now let's start with the bad news. The bad news is this is our last session of this awesome MegaCast. It's our last session of the day. That's the bad news. Here's the good news. We are ending with a bang because we have two awesome experts here who are going to tell us all about what's happening at Pure Storage, and that is Jason Langer, Senior Cloud Solutions Marketing Manager, and Matt Bradford, Director of Technical Marketing, again, both from Pure Storage. And we are going to get through a very exciting presentation, and then we are going to have an even more exciting Q&A. So we are just ramping up into our grand finale here at the MegaCast. I know that you are all pumped and ready. Jason, Matt, I can't wait to kick off. I'm going to see you guys for a Q&A shortly here, but take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from, and happy Tuesday. I'm Jason Langer, and I am a Senior Solutions Marketing Manager here at Pure Storage, and I focus on all things cloud as it relates to Pure Storage and our offerings. And additionally, I'm joined today by my friend Matt Bradford. Hey Matt, how are things, and would you mind doing a quick introduction?
Hey everybody, and I'm Matt Bradford, former sysadmin turned marketer, leading technical marketing for our digital experience team at Pure, focusing on helping customers manage and consume storage on their own terms.
Great, thanks Matt. And with the pleasantries out of the way, let's get into it. In today's webinar, we're going to be discussing the data dilemma, public cloud promises and the reality of on-premises, and how evergreen extensibility can help with both. And finally, we'll wrap up with some Q&A. To set the stage, we can't really talk about storage without talking about the data. And the amount of data that has and will be created over the last 10 years and a few years into the new future is staggering. Over the last decade, so 2012 to 2022, the amount of data has more than doubled, and the projected amount of data from 2022 to 2025 almost doubles at an 85% increase. If you compare the 6.5 zettabyte starting point to the 180 zettabyte projected total, we're looking at a monstrous 2,669% increase in data. And for me, I'm a visual learner, so to put these zettabyte numbers into perspective, I have a 1 terabyte drive in my PC, and it would take 1 billion of those drives to equal just 1 zettabyte. 1 billion drives. And how enterprises are storing that data is shifting, and I'm willing to bet no one here will be shocked by this. But more and more of the data that is created and stored is moving to the cloud. Back in 2018, 85% of data was still housed in on-premises data centers. But just in a short period of time, the amount of data stored in the public cloud will have more than doubled. And just like the overall data growth isn't slowing, these public cloud storage numbers are only going to increase in the coming years. And the promise of the public cloud is to make things easier, more cost efficient, and better protected and available. With cost flexibility, you can shift away from building data centers and procuring hardware, move to an as-a-service model for infrastructure and those services, and pay for them by the drip. In elasticity, you can scale up or down based on the demands and needs of your workloads. Right-size your applications and lines of businesses for when they are at their peaks, and then downsize them during their valleys. Availability. Public cloud offers data centers across the globe with availability zones in each one to ensure the uptime and operations of your business in an always-on marketplace. And finally, security. You can offload some of those day-to-day tasks of monitoring and measuring your infrastructure to the hyperscalers. But there is also the reality of the traditional on-premises data center. With management, your staff is fully responsible for the management of the storage infrastructure. This includes proper planning to ensure there's enough capacity for future demand. You have the accountability and uptime. With proper management, your team can consistently deliver performant and reliable storage. But we all know it's not that easy. Teams are trying to do more with less, which means more time spent on projects and meetings, meaning regular monitoring and management becomes periodic and kind of as the time allows. And then you have your upgrades. And if you're not leveraging Pure's evergreen architecture, then you're most likely in a cycle of repurchasing your hardware and taking downtime and data center real estate for forklift upgrades, and consuming precious staff hours every 3 to 5 years for these tasks. And the availability. Your data is available wherever you have data centers. If you need availability in other geos, then you're looking at public cloud. However, your capacity isn't transferable. That 100 terabytes of capacity you have on-prem will always be on-prem, and capacity in the public cloud is an additional expense. But whatever cloud model you choose, public, private, or even hybrid, Pure Storage and our portfolio of solutions can make it better. For on-premises, our FlashArray, FlashBlade, and Portworx solutions can address any workload requirement, bare metal, virtual, and cloud native. For those with a cloud appetite, our Cloud Block Storage solution brings our best-of-breed on-premises features and functionality to the public cloud, and Portworx, again, can be leveraged for cloud-native applications on your public cloud of choice. But regardless of where you choose to run your workloads, with any of our solutions, our Evergreen One as a service model will have you covered. And to cover that in more depth, I'm going to turn things over to Matt, who's hopefully finished that cup of coffee by now.
So hopefully you're thinking, Pure Storage in the cloud sounds like a great solution, but I also need the flexibility of running on-prem. And wouldn't it be great to get the same cloud-like experience for on-prem or co-locations? Well, that's a tall order, but don't worry, we hear it all the time. And naturally, Pure has an uncomplicated solution called Evergreen One. Evergreen One is a fully flexible enterprise-grade storage subscription service for hybrid cloud storage, where you can consume block, file, and object storage services on-prem or in the public cloud, all running on awesome Pure technology. Evergreen One is not a lease in disguise. This is a true storage as a service driven by SLAs with no hardware to purchase, and you only pay for what you use. You can reserve as little as 50 terabytes of storage capacity, which is offered at a discounted rate. And when you need to stretch out a little, you can exceed that and consume on-demand storage. Evergreen One can be extended beyond the walls of your facilities and into the public cloud with Cloud Block Store. So you can have one subscription across on-premises, co-location or service provider, and the public cloud, enabling a unified experience across all deployments. And yes, you heard that correctly. Evergreen One is available through managed service providers where the equipment is hosted in their data centers along with other infrastructure services that they provide. You get financial flexibility by only paying for what you use, freedom of choice, all backed by SLAs. That sure sounds like a cloud to me. Storage is, of course, not one size fits all, and Evergreen One is very accommodating. Depending upon your use case for the storage, we have many options available, whether it's block or unified fast file and object storage. If you need ultra-performance storage for those demanding mission-critical applications, or if you're just looking for a place to store your backups, each tier comes with SLAs tuned to meet the needs of those workloads with flexible pricing to match. Do you need sub-millisecond latency with high throughput, or are you just looking for a replication target for your snapshots? It all starts with your use case, and your account team and trusted partner will work with you to find the right tier. We also introduced a new tier for UFFO storage called Unstructured Data Repository. This is a capacity-oriented scale-out file and object storage service for long-term data retention, such as regulatory archives or backups. Evergreen One UDR is a cost-effective alternative to legacy spinning disk with greater reliability. Not to mention, it's super dense and ultra-efficient with drastic savings in footprint, energy efficiency, and cooling. Less space needed in your data center and you'll spend less on energy? That's a no-brainer. So let's jump right into the SLAs that you get with your Evergreen One storage as a service. Pure currently offers 5 SLAs with even more on the roadmap, and only Pure can offer 6 nines of uptime. That's 99.9999% uptime with no maintenance windows for software or hardware upgrades like the other storage vendors. We can do all of that because of our Evergreen architecture that's designed to be upgraded on the fly, keeping you modern without needing to do forklift upgrades or take outages. Pure also maintains a capacity buffer for those times when you just need to grow. For short-term growth, you can leverage on-demand capacity, or if it's long-term, you can expand your reserve capacity at any time. You'll also get performance SLAs around latency and bandwidth, so you don't have to worry about your storage slowing you down. Pure also offers an industry-first energy efficiency SLA, so your organization can meet its sustainability goals and reduce your overall energy costs with as little as 2 watts per terabyte. With Evergreen One, it doesn't matter if you need to run applications on-prem and in the cloud, or if you're simply looking for a secondary or tertiary location to store your data. You're not forced to decide between on-premises or public cloud. You can have both under the same subscription. This is ideal for replicating data to the public cloud using the Pure technologies Jason mentioned earlier for business continuity or disaster recovery. Managing your subscriptions is simplified with Pure One. Not only will you get details on upcoming renewals, but you'll also get details on your usage. By analyzing your historical utilization data, Pure One can predict when you'll exceed your reserve capacity and start consuming on demand. Additionally, you can see the impact of expansions to when you can expect to consume on demand, so you avoid overspending, and you can even request a quote right from within Pure One. Other details include performance metrics and your energy efficiency, so you have visibility into how well we're delivering on your SLAs. There's also a brand new asset management page to manage all of your subscription assets, such as subscriptions, licenses, and appliances. This is a comprehensive table view that can be exported for use with your own finance and asset management systems. You'll never lose track of important dates, subscriptions, or hardware again. And custom tags can also be applied for better organization of ownership, billing, applications, or any other piece of information you want to apply to each asset. Tags and all other data, such as location, are searchable, and you can even filter by specific date ranges, such as looking up when renewals are coming in the next few months. This also includes additional information such as purity versions, so you can assess your appliances and ensure your hardware and software is kept up to date. And keeping your storage up to date is even easier with non-disruptive self-service upgrades in Pure One. This gives your storage teams the flexibility to upgrade storage at any time and not depend on aligning schedules with support. The upgrade process includes multiple health checks to make sure the entire process goes smoothly. Upgrades are also secured with Pure Step-Up two-factor authentication to ensure that only privileged users can initiate upgrades. The entire process can be completed quickly and with just a few mouse clicks, so no hunting for binaries or wasting time reading through countless documents. Pure's really uncomplicated things so much that customers choose to upgrade their storage during production hours, including Fridays. So if you're getting sick of buying new storage arrays every 3 to 5 years and the staffing and downtime required to perform forklift upgrades, Evergreen One is worth exploring. Rather than spending millions up front, wouldn't it be great to free up most of that capital for other critical necessities? Not only that, but also freeing up your staff to focus on bigger and better things, while Pure manages your storage. Come on. We all have that list of things we need to get done, but never will because of lack of funding or staffing. With Evergreen One, you'll have the agility to grow on demand and keep your storage infrastructure modern while barely having to lift a finger. Now, doesn't that sound nice? One size does not fit all in IT, and many businesses find themselves struggling to obtain access to technology solutions in ways that fit their operational model. For example, some government customers have regulatory requirements to own the hardware, but they still want that flexibility of storage as a service. No problem. Evergreen Flex lets you purchase the hardware at a deep discount and pay as you go model going forward, giving you the same flexibility to grow as well as continuous updates to keep you modern. Whatever your needs are, we've got a solution to uncomplicate the headaches of legacy storage. If you just want to purchase your hardware and pay a flat subscription for hardware and software upgrades, there's Evergreen Forever. If you want to purchase the hardware at a lower price and only pay for a subscription based on your usage while getting the same benefits plus data pack mobility to better utilize what would otherwise be stranded capacity, there's Evergreen Flex. Or if you just want a complete SLA-focused managed storage solution with no equipment buys and a subscription based on what you use, Evergreen One's for you. For more information on Evergreen One or any of the other subscriptions and products mentioned here, check out purestorage.com. There's a ton of information plus a pricing calculator for Evergreen One to give you an idea of what to expect. It's worth checking out and getting all the details. And reach out to your Pure Storage account team or trusted partner to let them know that you're curious, and they'll help you get all the details you need to make a very smart and informed decision. So thanks everybody for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
Well, we appreciate your time, Matt and Jason, and we're going to jump into some questions. But before we do that, I just want to point out that we've got the poll question up for you here. What additional information you would like to get about the Pure Storage solution? So obviously we're just kind of getting into it high level. That was a pretty quick overview, and as I said, we're going to get a chance to chat a little bit more in depth now, but I'm sure there's a lot more information that you would all like to get. So this is the easy button, right? You just click on the poll right there, and then Pure Storage will follow up with you after we wrap and make sure that you get the follow-up that you want. So you don't even have to go looking for it. It just lands in your email inbox, which is just the best. So click on that poll. While you're doing that, Jason, Matt, I assume you finished your bowl of popcorn now, yeah?
Just a minute. I'm wrapping it up.
That was one of my favorite transitions. A very excellent jump cut there.
When you're presenting alongside Jason Langer, you got to grab some popcorn. Guys are so entertaining.
That's how we're all watching this webinar today, is just the edge of our seat, popping the popcorn. Guys, we got a lot of great questions coming in. I want to get into those. You ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, perfect. I'm assuming that was resounding yeses. Okay, let's start with this one. Can I purchase a pool of capacity and use it wherever I want? So, for example, private, public cloud.
Yeah, that's exactly how the Evergreen One STAS subscriptions work, right? You buy a pool of reserved capacity that you can use, and Pure is going to manage your capacity headroom. So if you're going to do anything on-prem, right, we're going to maintain at least 25% headroom for that on-prem. But then, of course, if you're going to use Cloud Block Store for public cloud storage, that's all going to pull from that same pool. So yeah, that's the nice thing about Evergreen One, is that you don't have any capacity that is held hostage on either on-prem or in the cloud. You can use that capacity wherever you need.
Nobody likes to be held hostage. For someone out there that has existing and legacy architecture, we have a question here from Nathan wondering, can Evergreen One integrate with his existing on-premises and cloud storage providers?
Yeah, exactly. So, with your on-prem, right, we're going to give you some physical hardware that you can put in your data center. Obviously, integrate that with your SAN, with your network, whatever, protocols you're using. And then as far as the public cloud side goes, yes, Cloud Block Store is available through AWS and Azure. I believe you can purchase them through their marketplaces as well, but I'm not sure if that would tie into your Evergreen One subscription. If you do that, that may just be a separate pool of storage. So talk to your account team about that if you are interested, and then they will make sure that you are set up properly.
Okay. Question here about upgrades. So wondering, with Evergreen, how are upgrades planned? Is there a consultation? Do they have a dedicated support engineer? I think David had also submitted this question kind of saying, or basically wondering, are we requesting hardware updates, or is Pure Support stepping in?
Yeah, so Pure is going to keep you up to date. So we will manage the hardware. Software upgrades, we do have options for, just as you would with a CapEx model, where you can have support-led upgrades, or you can do the self-service upgrades through Pure One, so you can perform upgrades on your own time. You just click through basically a wizard that's going to take you through the entire upgrade process. So yeah, upgrades you can perform on your own, but we're going to manage that hardware for you. We're going to give you updates. We're going to make sure you have enough capacity, so it really takes that burden off of you.
Okay, and is the same true? We have a question here wondering about keeping track of subscriptions and renewals. Yeah,
so you can keep track of your subscriptions and renewals through Pure One. So same place you're going to go to do those self-service upgrades, pure1.purestorage.com. And so we've got subscription pages in there. It'll give you an idea of, and we showed this in the presentation too, right? It'll give you an idea of all of your contracts. What's coming up for renewal, if you need to do any sort of expansions, right? Pure One's going to give you all that information so you know how you're utilizing that subscription. I mean, think about it this way. If you're an on-prem or a traditional CapEx customer, you're going to be wanting to consume as much of that storage as you can, right? But with subscriptions, well, now you want to focus on consuming all of
right? And so it's trying to find that fine balance, between using that capacity and making sure that you're not going into on-demand capacity. On-demand is totally fine for transient workloads, but if you're looking for long-term storage, that's where you're going to want to start doing some expansions, and that's where Pure One can kind of give you a good idea of how you're utilizing that, but then also can where you can go to initiate those expansions at any time. In addition, there's the asset management as well. So that's going to be a single place you get all of your subscription information, all of your assets related to your subscription, so all of your hardware that you have, and help you keep track of everything.
Well, okay, so that may actually answer my next question, although I always love to hear what folks within an organization think their own biggest and best standout feature is. So I want to ask you, because we've gotten a few questions here about, what's kind of making Pure Storage stand out, and I'm wondering what your answer to that is. What do you think sort of the key unique is for the solution?
Well, I mean, certainly the flexibility side of things, Pure One, I'm a little bit biased, right? I'm tech marketing for Pure One, so I can certainly go on for a while about some of the differentiators that we have in Pure One, like the new DRR anomaly detection that's part of the data protection assessment within Pure One, where we're actually looking at your DRR, right, your data reduction ratios, and if we see significant drops, well, that could be an indicator that something major has happened within your storage, like, for example, if all of your data were to get encrypted all at once, right? We will see a drop in DRR, and, Pure One's going to basically let you know when that happens. Now, it's not necessarily an early detection piece, but it is something that's going to give you a good point in time as you're looking to recover. From an Evergreen One standpoint, what's kind of a differentiator for us is going to be, primarily is going to be those SLAs, right? We've got energy efficiency SLA. There's more SLAs coming. We've got, the big Pure Accelerate show coming up here in Las Vegas in just about a month. So there's going to be some more announcements too around other ways that we can provide even better services to you through Evergreen One.
Awesome, I love that. And any excuse to come hang out with you guys. I mean, also Vegas. Yeah, that's all sounds like good things. I'd love to keep this conversation going, but as I said, we're very close to the end of our time here. But before you guys take off, I do want to ask you, for somebody out there that is, raring to go, either wants to learn a little bit more or wants to jump right in with Pure Storage with Evergreen, what do you recommend as their first step to getting that rolling?
Yeah, I mean, first step to get the ball rolling, go to purestorage.com. We do have a whole bunch of information out there on Evergreen One. There's also a pricing calculator. That's big on everybody's mind, right? What is this going to cost me? So, all that information is available out there on our website. And the next step is to talk to your account team. If you're an existing customer, you can actually initiate that through Pure One, through the marketplace if you want. Obviously, if you're an existing customer, you'll know who your account team is or who your partner reseller is, and work with them to take things to the next level.
Yeah,
awesome.
Matt, I'll just add one more comment. For the purestorage.com, we also have our test drive. So all the greatness that Matt's talking about, you can also go in and do a test drive of our flash array products that look like Cloud Block Store, because we have a common user interface. So if you're not an existing Pure Storage customer, if you want to get a sense for, putting hands on it and kind of taking a look, that's on our website as well for a test drive where you can kind of get your hands dirty and you click around, look at the interface, and see what all the buzz is about.
Yeah, Jason, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think that is really important for anyone out there that, if you're in that research phase, the best way to figure out if the solution is going to work for you is to, as you say, get your hands dirty and start playing with it. So that's awesome. Thanks, guys. And honestly, both of you, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I really appreciate you coming on and awesome presentation, some great Q&A. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, and a big thank you to everyone who answered that poll and sent in a question. I will remind you again that if we did not get to your question during our live Q&A here with Matt and Jason, you will get a follow-up from the Pure Storage team. So keep those questions coming in. Even if you send something in now, we'll still make sure that it gets over to the team. And while you folks are clicking on the poll, sending in those last questions, I do also want to remind you to head on over to the Handouts tab. And if you click on the Handouts tab, you're going to go ahead right over to the Pure Storage site. And as we just said, there's a lot of great resources there, as well as that opportunity to get rolling with a test drive. Randall just said, big fan of Pure Storage. They love it, so that's awesome. Love that shout out, Randall. Seeing some nice high fives from the audience here. David and Howard, I appreciate that. Love all the positive vibes that are coming from all of you today. All right, well, I'm going to leave that poll up just a minute longer because I want to make sure you all have a chance to get the information that you want. And again, get those awesome follow-ups from Jason and Matt. So please do click on that poll, send in those questions. While you're doing that, I will give away our very last prizes. Here we are. So we're going to do a $300 Amazon gift card, and we are going to do a Apple Watch. So I'll remind you one more time that you do need to be here live and present at the MegaCast in order to win. Our very last winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Cy Crovey of Virginia. Cy Crovey of Virginia, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And our last two winners of an Apple Watch are Bill Sager of Pennsylvania and Alan Lilly of Virginia. So that was Bill Sager of Pennsylvania and Alan Lilly of Virginia. I'm going to go ahead and read through this whole list one more time. All right, we have a gift card going to Venko Gospodinov of California, an Apple Watch going to Joseph Illuminati of Pennsylvania, a gift card going to Cy Crovey of Virginia, and an Apple Watch going to Bill Sager of Pennsylvania and to Alan Lilly of Virginia. So congratulations to all of our lucky winners. We will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap, so stay tuned for that, as well as that best question gift card. Again, we will be following up with you. All right, well, with that, I'm going to remind you all that if you are sitting out there thinking to yourself, what a fun morning it's been, I want more of this, I want to be involved with this, I would like to come on and present at a future summit, maybe an EcoCast, a MegaCast, maybe a webinar, a DemoCast, a PanelCast, you name it, we've got it, and we would love for you to be a part of it. So reach out via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com, shoot us a message, and we will get that conversation rolling. Okay, folks, well, we've reached the end of our time together, which is always a sad time, but I do want to one more time say on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, a giant thank you to our speakers from Rubrik and from Pure Storage for making this MegaCast possible. I also want to say a big thank you to all of you out there for being a part of our day today, for asking some incredible questions and clicking on those polls, clicking on those handouts, generally just being fun and interactive. It is it's an interesting thing, you know, when we do these sessions, and I know that none of us actually get to see each other, but it's nice to know that we're all out there. It's nice to see the highs and hellos. It's nice to get those comments, the questions, the feedback from all of you, and feel like we're all a part of this conversation together. Because as we were saying at the top of the day today, you know, there are so many new innovations, there are so many new ideas coming out every day. And these ideas are really exciting, but they are only as good. They really only are as valuable and effective as options for us if we can take the time to really explore them, to take them apart, to understand them, and to know how to implement the right version in the right way for our organization. So that's why these kinds of conversations genuinely are so exciting and so important to be a part of. And it's been a lot of fun, as always, chatting with you folks today. So I hope that you've gotten some interesting ideas, some tips, some tricks, some things that you want to do a little bit more digging in. I hope that you feel a little more informed, maybe a little better equipped to tackle some of those challenges and ideas that you're sorting through at your organization. And most of all, best of all, I hope that you had fun. That's the best part of these sessions today. Now, before you take off, I do want to make sure that you mark your calendar. Come back and join us for the Expert Series. That's Friday, May 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about understanding data fabric versus data mesh, technology and business drivers. This is a really cool topic to dig into. I bet that a lot of us are feeling a little fuzzy
on the details, data fabric versus data mesh, and maybe could spend some time kind of digging in a bit. So come listen to an expert help you sort through that. Again, that's Friday, May 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. All right, well, with that, folks, that's all we've got. I hope that I get to see you all again soon on a MegaCast, an EcoCast, at the Expert Series, wherever it is. I can't wait. And until then, have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.